Today, we're diving into a transformative conversation about birth, pleasure, and spiritual awakening. Join us as we'll explore the profound connection between birth and sexuality, how to demystify birth, and how you can step into your true power as you bring life into the world. Hi, I'm Debra Buitrago, founder and director of Orgasmic Birth and host of the Orgasmic Birth podcast. I am so honored that my guest today is Magaly Buitrago, known as La-Maga. She was born in Colombia and now is living in London with her 2 children. Magaly's journey into the world of birth began in the most unexpected way. After experiencing an orgasmic near-death experience during the birth of her first child, she was capitulated into a spiritual awakening that changed the course of her life. Her powerful story didn't stop there. She went on to have 2 more births, including an incredible, intimate, pleasurable, and peaceful home birth with her son 13 years later. Along the way, she became a doula, a yoga teacher, a sweat lodge guide, and developed a method to help women release their fears around birth and experience it as deeply empowering and a positive experience. I am so excited. La-Maga, I've been waiting to talk with you because just reading about your experience just touched my heart. I could feel the tingles in my whole body. So thank you for joining us today to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Debra. English is not my first language, so I'll try my best to communicate. Yes, I'm very excited too, because I am a big admirer of orgasmic birth, for going out there and kind of changing the collective imaginary about birth, you know, because every time we connected birth to people, it's about, everything is about pain, and it's about fear, and it's about something complicated. And to tell you the truth, to go out and say, oh, well, you can have an orgasmic birth, people still in 2025, they still look at you like, huh? And that's what happens. Actually, I haven't been talking too much about it, about my own birth experiences, even though that I am a doula. And I train and I help women to have positive experiences through birth. But I was thinking when you invited me, when I accept your invitation, actually, because this is the reason, my birth was the reason that I became a doula. I was a producer before. I didn't have anything to do with the health or wellness or anything, or I will never thought about doing something like a yoga teacher or becoming a doula. But my experience changed my perspective and my life forever. And this is why I decided to do what I do, because I didn't know, I knew that you could like be present, and that's what I wanted to do when I have my children. I didn't even prepare. I didn't know about the different kind of doulas and all these things. I was living in London then. Very connected experience. I wanted to be very conscious. I wanted to be feeling. I wanted to feel. And I was very clear on that. And I didn't want to be cut. That was very important for me. It sounds very superficial, but it was just the idea of having my vagina cut. I didn't even want to go through that. So I found out what I needed to do in order to not to have that. And that's how I ended up learning about Michel Odent. From there on, I get in contact with Ina May Gaskin's work. And like during my 5 months of pregnancy, I just read a lot. I moved to London. I was living in Colombia. So it was between autumn and winter. It was October when I arrived. So I was reading everything I could and just getting to know all these things. And when I read Michel Oden, was a very big inspiration for me. I read The Art of Love. Yeah, I think it's in English is something like The Scientification of Love. And that book touched me really profound, because it's like, well, I want to have that. But I did not have a midwife. I was not prepared. And then it was like too late for a doula. I didn't know exactly what it was. So I tried to do it myself. And funnily enough, in England, thanks to Michel Oden, you could have a very beautiful birth experience in a bathtub with hot water, with gas and air. Because many, many years ago when he was there, he lives in London, actually, I think, in England. And he changed the whole system. He helped to shape a new way of treating birth. And I was lucky enough to have a group of midwives with me taking care of my birth. I was very surprised, because in Colombia, you have an obstetrician and you have a lot of doctors and interventions. And there I have to go through the public system, which it was another shock. It was like, in Colombia, it's like going into the public system is the worst you can have. But there, it was the best. It's the best. It's where everybody goes. It's very well designed for birth. And I was lucky because I was not in a high risk sort of birth. So they recommended a home birth. But I was not up for it. But still, I went to the hospital and they showed me that I could do it in a bathtub, which was my dream. Actually, I always wanted to do it like that, but in Colombia it was not possible. I was living here for a while, and it was not possible to do that. Care of and have also the all the security in case that something happened. I was not very sure of doing anything like too adventurous, and I had a fantastic experience. I'll start with that because I think is what changed the whole thing for me. I was very afraid of dying during birth. Maybe there's something in my other lives for people that believe on past lives. I do, but I had a lot of big fear of dying, and now I know that a lot of women experience that too. So my baby was late. She was sitting, she was breached. Maya was breached. And I was very upset because they were going to have to do a cesarean section. I talked to the doctor, I was crying. I said, I'm not going to have a cesarean section. Please, there's something that we can do. Please, please help me. And there was an Indian doctor in the hospital, and he offered to move my baby. They offered to move my baby so I could have a natural birth. They saw me so determined because I was like insisting and crying, and they say, oh, well, if you really, they told me about the risks and everything, and the risk was that I have to have a cesarean of emergency. And I said, well, if I have to have a cesarean, well, still, I'll take the risk. One way or the other, I'll have to have a cesarean. So they did the procedure. They moved Maya in the hospital. They moved her. And I spent the rest of the 4 or 5 weeks with my bottom up and talking to this baby so she wouldn't stay rich. She stayed how she was. So at the end of the story, I'm born with one of them, and she was supposed to be at my birth. But the day that I went into labor, she was not there to be seen anywhere. I was a bit upset. And then I was put with an Australian midwife, Tracy. I do not remember her last name. I hope that one day she sees me because I never forget her and I'm always grateful. And she was fantastic. I arrived very early because I didn't know much. So I arrived quite early. I started with contraction in the early morning, and then I went in around midday. And I explained that I wanted to have my birth like this and blah, blah, blah. And she read, because I did a birth plan. So I explained all these things that I wanted. And she read it and she said, okay, if you want to do this, Are you sure you want to do it? And I say, yes. And she said, okay, I'll help you. I'll be here to help you doing this. And I will help you all the way in case that you forget that this is what you want to do. So the birth was beautiful. The whole thing was a very interesting discovery because all through the pregnancy, I felt very, very sexual. I'm by nature somebody that is very, very connected with my body and with my sexuality. And I always find pleasure and sexuality very together with spirituality. For me, it's not a separate thing. I always find it like it was just one thing. It was like the closest you could be to the spiritual world. Yeah. And funnily enough, when I was pregnant, I felt like so beautiful. I was very young. I'm almost 50 now. I just turned 49. And I was 25 when I gave birth to my child. I was very in love with him and everything. But he was a bit like taken aback because I was like really, really into making love. And he was surprised. He's never been with a pregnant woman in his life. And he was surprised. I was surprised too. But I felt very beautiful. My skin, my whole body. I just felt like I had these great boobs and I feel everything. I could hear better. I could see better. My smell, the senses, they were all like, I felt like a very strange creature. And I really liked it. So through the birth, that experience keep going because through the birth, instead of me, I was scared at the beginning, and then Tracy was really good with me, helping me to relax. The water really relaxed me. And there were points there which she will take me out. And all I wanted was for my husband, he's Irish. He's not my husband anymore, but he's Irish. And all I wanted was to kiss me. It's funny because I didn't really read about it. I didn't know before. Now I know after I really read some book about Ina May Gaskin, and she was saying how important it is now as a doula. I know how important it is, this relation of your mouth with your vagina and everything. But then I didn't know. But all I wanted was to kiss me and hug me. And where I was about at that point that I was in like, how is that called? The
transition
point. Might miss something. Transition, yes. The midwife realized that she better leave us alone because the whole ambience was very intimate. I was not just holding him. I wanted to grab me by the back, and I wanted to grab my breasts. And because you are in this animal kind of thing, I did not have any epidural or anything. I got to a point, you get to a point where you don't care about anything. I didn't care who he was. I was always afraid to do a poo. I didn't care if anybody was there, nothing. And she left, and the bird went really fast because I wanted. I know it sounds very surprising. And I felt very ashamed of this experience for a long time because every time I heard about other women's experiences, they were not mine. So I didn't feel it was wrong, mine, but I feel like if I talk about this, I will make people feel a bit bad about their births. So I kept quiet. I kept quiet for a while. So coming back to the birth, yeah, and I was kissing, and I was like really into this mood with him. He always this because it was really very so it was very strange, and the labor went really fast. I went into the bathtub, and then I went to the contractions again, really strong contractions. I use gas and air, which I recommend strongly. I don't know if in the States they use it, but they offer me this, and I didn't want anything that had consequences on the baby. It was fantastic because I could like take it during the contraction, and I could go like high, and then when I exhaled, it was gone. And it helped me through the contractions. There was a point that I really got into that place that you're between worlds. I was in the bathtub. I remember that there was her there, the midwife, my husband, my then husband, and my mother. And I realized that the baby was going to be born soon. I didn't know I did not have to push. And I just remember that I feel the urge to push, and I push really hard. And when I push hard, I literally felt that I was like ejected from my body, and I was gone. So I was not gone like, it was just like a few seconds, because I don't remember when I pushed her out, her coming out, anything. I just came out, and I felt that I inflamed. My body was like, I didn't have any body. I was like all like warm light or something like that. And it was like the sun, like the really early sun I felt on this side of my body. And I just felt like I was floating. I was so happy. I had such a beautiful, I just felt absolutely happy. I've never had that feeling before. It was so much love and happiness. And I was like there feeling really like warm. And suddenly I heard somebody that said, "What about the baby?" And when I heard that, I was back again, and I had the baby on top of me. So I took a while. I show you a photo. I shared a photo with you. It's the only photograph I have of the birth. But my face was like, where am I? Because I was gone for a moment. At that moment, I just grabbed the baby, look at her, and realized she was a girl. But I was like, really, I was not understanding what was going on. I felt very confused. And then there was a lot of people in the room also, because actually I went away. So my mother says that I just like dropped like this and was gone for a minute. And they said, we thought you were dead. So they called the emergency button, and people came, and there was a lot of blood, but I came back by myself. It was seconds. It was very intense. It was also very scary for my mom and for my then husband.
Are you curious about enhancing pleasure and easing discomfort in labor? Orgasmic Birth and Dame present the Pleasure Vibe Fin, a waterproof vibrator designed to empower your journey through pregnancy, birth, and beyond. Boost your oxytocin, ease discomfort naturally, and transform your birth into an empowered and even orgasmic experience. Plus, support postpartum healing and reconnect with your body. Are you ready to embrace the power of pleasure? Click below, learn more, and start your transformation today. I just want to say what a powerful story, right? To hear the sensuality, the sexuality, the love, the beautiful experience, and then for you to kind of have this bleeding or otherworldly experience. So, what happened from there? What you came back and what were you feeling?
Well, I was just feeling very, very confused, and everybody had a face that they were kind of happy, but they were kind of scared. My mom was crying, and I didn't understand very much. I came out of the bathtub and I fainted again. Apparently, I lost a lot of blood, but I stayed in this state for like months, like in this oxytocin high vibe for a long time. And what I remember is that I realized that was that I experienced something like death. And before I went into labor, I wrote a letter to my husband saying that in case that something happened to me, I wanted this and this and this and this. And I left it in the drawer of his underwear because I didn't want it to have him afraid. And then I remember this letter and I say, I actually had this fear. It came for real. And I have this great test. And I realized just by myself, reflecting into myself, I had the opportunity to experience that, so I will not be afraid of it anymore. And I think that's what happened. I just went through the biggest fear I had in my life, and I never ever was afraid of death anymore, because I realized it was something beautiful. I realized it was not something scary. It was such a joyful, beautiful experience. And later, when I talk to people, because later on after the years, I have sometimes looked into this nearly death experience. I listened to a podcast once in my car, and there was this person explaining the same kind of scenario. I did not see any tunnel or anything like that, but I had that feeling, of not having a body, and that was just beautiful. So from then on, what happened is that I came back to be pregnant again very quickly. I wanted to have another child. I did not even have time to think about it much. But I started finding out about this experience as so sexual. And all I thought it was that I wanted to do something about it and help other women have this experience, because I realized, oh my God, I mean, why do you hear all these bad things about birth and we never know that this is possible? Somebody in particular, I was very determined, but this was what it was in my heart. Later on, I became a doula. And during the training as a doula, I did it in Barcelona. Michelo then was one of the person that was teaching. I couldn't believe it, because he's absolutely amazing. He's one of the most impressive people I've met. He has this is a very wise man, very kind. He was because of the connection and love, and how if we were born in a loving way into the world, that will change the future generations. That really caused an impact on me. That really stayed with me more than being an actual doula or anything. It was like, wow, that's something amazing. If we could make a change through pregnancy, and people will come with love into this world, maybe we'll have people more fit to love, that to go into wars and to feel that you're different, or to fight about different points of view. And I particularly thought about my country, because I was born in Colombia. We all know that unfortunately we're famous for the coffee and for beautiful things. This is an amazing place, an incredible, rich place. But it was very hard with violence. It's been like a long history of violence, like in most countries, but we haven't got out of it. It's taken us long. And I was brought up in the 90s with the whole horrible stories of all those mafia guys and everything. And I always wonder why here in Colombia there was such a violent society. There's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, anthropologically, you understand that we've been very oppressed. We were experiencing a lot of violence. We were colonized, all that. But I thought that there was a big ingredient in the fact that most of the births in Colombia are very violent also. You see, so I can see Well, I don't know if there's no studies really about that in Colombia. Maybe we should do one. Interesting. But actually, I thought when he was talking about that, Michel Oden, I thought he was talking about that, and I was thinking about Colombia. I was living in Barcelona then. We moved to Barcelona to bring our children up. And I was just thinking of Colombia. Or I was very selfish, thinking, oh, wow, if I could like really do something about that. Because I left the place, I left Colombia very heartbroken. I wanted to be a lawyer and change things for the people. And then I thought, maybe there's another way. Maybe we could do it through this. So I explained this to Michel Oden, and I said, well, how can I do this? And the second day I said, listen, I was born there and I don't live there, but I want to do something about it. What can I do? And he said to me, you have to learn to speak the language of the science and through the language of the heart, translated into the language of science. So you can talk about this and people can know about this. Because if you talk from the love and from all this and the spirituality, people don't usually get it. But if you can know the science behind birth and you can talk about it and you can go out and say it, yeah, that'll be a good thing that for you to do.
So this
Like,
was, you went to him in between your births, right? So he helped you prepare now for your next babies?
no,
No.
he was teaching a module of the birth of the doula preparation, of the doula training in Barcelona. He came to teach us one of the modules with his wife, with
Liliana?
her name, Liliana Lammers. She's amazing too. She gave us another lessons too. And when at the second day, I approached him because I just felt like very touched by this. And when we talked, he said this to me. So I had another baby. I had my second child, Lucas. He was born in the hospital, but I did the labor at home. I stay in the bathtub, and this time I said, I'm not going to go to the hospital. I am going to stay with my baby in the bathtub. And we did a fantastic work, the two of us. This time, I'm being very determined for so many things. And it's so beautiful to remember this because I realize how amazing we are. Sometimes I don't give myself enough credit, but I kind of follow my heart. And this second time, I was very confident, even though that I was bleeding in the first one and I had this experience of dying and everything. I said, I want to stay home. So I filled my bathtub that I spend most of my time in London and at night, because every night I will have a bath with my child. And then my husband went out because he was getting me nervous. And I said, well, you go meet your friend and I'll call you then if something happened. But I knew that the baby was coming. And I stayed doing my first stage of labor with him in the bathtub. It was very quick. And then I called him and I say, well, I'm ready to go to the hospital. But I'm ready to go to the hospital is that I actually had the baby, like I could feel the baby. So we rushed to hospital because he was very afraid. He didn't want it to stay home. Because there was a point I said, look, let's just stay home. They can send us somebody and I can stay home. I don't want to move. And he was very afraid and said, no, we're going to the hospital. I went on my back. I just grabbed the seat like this to go because I was having very strong contractions. And the baby was born within half an hour because they put the bathtub to fill. They didn't believe I was in labor. And I went into labor and I had my baby. And the nurse just, when she went in, I was ready to push. So she just grabbed the baby. And that was Lucas.
Fantastic. Yeah. And give us baby number 3. We're coming down to the end and we'd love to hear how that shifted after 2 other births.
Well, after 13 years, I've been a doula for a long time. I trained as a yoga teacher. I became a doula. I didn't exercise for a long time, but then I was doing temazcal, which is almost a very similar things, because it's also to hold a space for people to be born, to come back to the womb of Mother Earth. And yeah, you see, it's all related. It was all calling me. So with Sakai, it was 13 years later. It was not an easy pregnancy. The situation was different, but I spent all my pregnancy doing temazcal and helping women to birth. The last person I was doing a doula work was 1 month before I gave birth. So I was pregnant, helping another woman get birth. I was very busy and I was very happy. And with that baby, I realized I was in Colombia and there was no way that I could have the same treatment in the hospital. I know how the situation was. It's getting much better now. We have a lot of good doctors that are really opening their mind and the spectrum and realizing the importance of respected births. And in places like Medellin and Bogota, there's a few, because there's not many that do it, but they can help women through this experience. But none of them will do it at home. And I wanted to be home. I was sure of that. So I decided to do it by myself because I felt confident enough. I also have a friend of ours, and that he's a doctor, and he's also a Chinese doctor, and he was a bit worried at the end. He was telling me that I was too old, that I will have a high-risk pregnancy, and trying to scare me away. So I didn't want to have this noise. And he said to me, well, I think it's very risky what you're trying to do, but he tried to convince me otherwise. And I said, no, I'm not going to change my mind. So he offered and he said, well, please let me at least be there in case that something happens. And I said, okay, but I'll call you. And so that was on a Sunday. He was not attending that day. He was in a mountain. When we called him, he wasn't around. And the baby, I stayed at home, and the baby was in 3 hours, less than 3 hours, I was in labor. My child, that she's now 25, my daughter, the first daughter that I have, she was with me, and she was kind of my doula because it was just the two of us in a big house, and the father left to bring the doctor. And it was perfect because it was very intimate. And I get very quickly into labor. I will remember that I was like really with this strong feeling, these very strong contractions that will cross me from the head to the toes. And I couldn't even move in a bowl. I couldn't do any dances. I couldn't do anything that I do with my clients. I just could stay still because the contractions were really strong. And then I went into the bathroom, hiding from all the people, because then the doctor arrived. There was my friend who brought the doctor, and there was the father, there was my daughter. So I went into the bathroom kind of to lock myself into, and I did a pee, and I felt that the baby was coming, and I stood up, put my dress up, and grabbed the baby and put it on my chest.
So
and then
beautiful.
Yes, I did it. And it was just like, I didn't push. He just came out by himself. I just felt that he was coming. And as a good mammal and woman, I mean, you have to like not be in all your senses to drop your child. I mean, you just instinctively, I just grabbed him and put it in my chest. I was standing, and then they came in, and it was so confusing, but then I remember I was sitting in a chair, and my daughter I said, please bring a lot of towels, and the heating system. There was a mobile heating system. Don't let me get cold. I was like giving all these orders, still being a doula. Like, please do this, please bring that. But I was fine. I was fine. And the doctor arrived when the baby was here and the placenta was out.
So beautiful. La-Maga, just three incredible stories, right? Like you've had such a journey with birth personally, and that's brought you into your journey and how you support others. And I know that everybody that's listening would love to hear. Can you tell us how people could follow you, your website, so people can reach you?
Yes, well, I am in Colombia, but I do a lot of birth preparation for women in all places, even when, especially when they speak Spanish. And I'm a yoga teacher. I'm specializing in prenatal, and I developed this system to help other women lose the fear of death and birth. And you can find me as La-Maga Mujer. La-Maga, like is written there, and mujer as woman in Spanish. Yes.
That's so beautiful. And we will put all that into the show notes so people can reach out. And it's so wonderful that you're back, in your home country after all the traveling and helping care improve for everyone there. So I thank you so much for joining us, sharing your story, and truly, like, I've heard a lot of birth stories, but your near-death experience is extraordinary. But how that translated into such love is such a beautiful message for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope that a lot of people listen to more of these stories. I hope that all this message and all the work that you do also spreads more, that you actually given me a lot of, you're pushing me a lot to share about this. I have not talked about it very much still, because I've been going through the violence on birth, but I haven't been talking about this because it's still a taboo. But I think it's very important to say it out loud and to make it more of the norm, because whatever we hear and everything that comes through our senses become our experiences. And if people are listening to this more and watching people being birthed in another way, maybe we can actually evolve and become a more loving generation and good people for the earth.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Just beautiful words to take in as we end. And for everyone that's with us, we hope that you will share a comment. Let us know how you're feeling. Let La-Maga know what were the things that touched you in her story. What are you going to take forward into your life, into your birth, into your kind of family? So we always appreciate hearing from you. And we hope you'll join us on the next episode of the Orgasmic Birth Podcast. Bye.